Hi, welcome to another episode of Wikipedia Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Lee, also known as User Fuzzheado on Wikipedia. And welcome to folks watching us on either Facebook or YouTube or Twitter Periscope or Twitch. And we're really happy today to have a very casual editing session with Emily Temple Wood, who is one of our recent guests on the show. So welcome, Emily.
Hello. I'm here with, my husband and my cats. We're just chilling. Yeah, we're having a casual sweatpants kind of day in quarantine here, as we have for the past 6 weeks. So, I just wanted to do this episode to kind of share what it looks like to update all of these COVID articles in real time. So I've been mostly working on updating the United States articles simply because there's so goddamn many of them, and there's like 4 or 5 people kind of trying to keep up to date on them. And while I do this, I'll go into kind of what my process is like for sourcing, what my process is like for actually like editing, and what some of the problems we're running into with the articles. Molly White, who can't join us today, is totally the queen of keeping the Massachusetts article together. She's been editing it pretty substantially. So let's get going. So this is the main template that we're working from. There is also a global template that has different countries and different regions, which is not as well filled out as the United States one is. The main thing that I'm focusing on is the locations aspect. So we have all of the states. We also have data by state and charts, so I can kind of show you through that also. But my main focus is updating on each of the individual states' articles. This is kind of the big one. This is the big chart showing cases, mortality, recoveries, and hospitalizations, which every state reports something different because we don't have any kind of centralized anything in this country. That's a whole different story. So this is my source master document, which has just so many sources. I've also been using the COVID projects, fantastic, super fantastic list. They have this whole list of sources. They have this one here, where you can find medical literature about COVID as a disease process and as treatment. You can find news and data. This is all pretty useful, but the real money for someone who's doing what I'm doing is actually in the task force, which I encourage you to join, the case count task force. And since I've been, working on these articles over the past, 3 weeks or so, I've kind of developed a nice workflow that I hope to share. This is each location with a source and then adopters, which I encourage you to sign up for. So let's get started and see where we're at today, because different people update things on different schedules. So I either start with Alabama or Wyoming. That's just my personal preference. We got to keep things fresh. I usually alternate. So yesterday I started with Wyoming, so today I'll start with Alabama.
And why is that? Are they the lower population in terms of?
No, I'm just lazy and like to go in alphabetical order. I used to go East Coast to West Coast, but that got really annoying. So now I just kind of do this. Right. Alabama's website sucks, but not as much as other places. So they've got these 3 different websites. And one of the challenges here is like sorting through the data and figuring out like when things have been reported and when things haven't been. So this is as of April 20th. So people have been using the as of templates pretty well, which gives you an idea of kind of when things like have been recently updated. So This is up to date as of April 20th. So let's see if they've actually reported April 21st data. They appear to not have done that here. Let's see here. A super frustrating thing is that states have multiple dashboards or report things separately. So this appears to be data provisional 5296. That's great. So this appears to be yesterday's data. So I'm going to go ahead and start updating this. I have become fully converted to Visual Editor. Don't hate me.
Why would we hate you? And when did you make that switch, or when did you turn the corner on that?
I started using Visual Editor a little bit for women scientist articles, just because I realized for my participants in workshops, it was a lot easier for them to get on the Visual Editor bandwagon. But I didn't personally fully embrace it probably until the last couple of years. Once the sourcing became like Zotero-fied, and I use Zotero for like my medical research things.
Oh, right.
So I started using Zotero there, which made it better. And then the tables were really what turned the corner for me. The tables are so much better.
There's no way to do tables without Visual Editor unless you want to lose your sanity. Yeah.
Unless you really, really hate yourself.
Right.
Okay, so this is where the money is for Alabama Public Health. So I'm actually going to update my source list here. So we have an as of, so I'm going to pop that in there. No, that's not a template. Did I delete the template because I hate that template? Probably. The world may never know. So we have 5296 cases and 144 confirmed deaths. Now, this is another issue that we've been running into. There's an expanded case definition from the CDC that means that some places are reporting deaths that look like COVID, but they never got a test. And some places are not. So this may account for some of the discrepancy that we've been seeing. Probably not all of them, but it's something. So Alabama here reports reported deaths. So 181 is everybody who the clinician wrote COVID-19 on their death certificate, whereas died from illness 144 is everybody who had COVID-19 on their death certificate and had a positive test. So every state does this differently. So what I've had to do is I've spent a lot of time messing with the temp infobox pandemic. Sorry, I can only do one thing at once.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and fix that while I explain to folks. You mentioned Zotero, which is really cool. Yeah, so if folks don't know, Zotero is an open source citation management system, and its original mission was to help folks manage writing long research papers and all the journal articles and footnotes and all these things. So there are two very prominent paid commercial footnote management or reference management systems for Microsoft Word or whatever, and they're quite good. EndNote and Bookends, I think, is the other one. So these are very popular with academics, whatever, and it really does beg for like an open source way to manage references. So fortunately, we have the thing called Zotero, Zotero, and Zotero is really cool in that it is a open source way to manage these footnotes and endnotes and things like that for your papers. But the cool thing is, since it's open source, you can actually use it for different reasons. And the Visual Editor, one of its main benefits is that rather than just giving you a nice, pretty way to edit stuff, you can actually go in. You might see Emily doing it here, is say, I want to insert a reference. And then you basically go to the web, you copy the URL of either a New York Times article or a book or a journal article, paste it into Visual Editor, and it uses Zotero's engine to scrape that content to say, oh, who's the author, what's the date, what's the journal article, what's the journal, what's the ISBN number, all that stuff. And it nicely formats a reference or a citation for you. And that is actually one of the cool benefits of using Visual Editor in a way that that gives you a benefit that you didn't really think of when you first started using Visual Editor. Like you think that, oh, this is nice because it's not using this wiki markup code, but it gives you a lot of other benefits. And Jim and other folks here are doing a great job of like giving us some pointers to it here. So George Mason University is where it was developed, and Zotero is still being actively developed. And Derek here, our friend Derek, Emily says, Emily was already on the Visual Editor bandwagon in 2014. So.
Was that Hong Kong or London? Either way, I wanted to use it. Yeah. I liked it for writing. And yes, Derek is right. I started using it for outreach more than anything else. And to Jim's point earlier, we're still manual updating. I don't know how the visual or the Wikidata stuff is working. We should do some Wikidata over here. Here I can just show how the Zotero works with PubMed IDs. Mm-hmm. If you want to pop my screen back. So yep. This is the first article I pulled up from PubMed. I'm not going to actually do this, but if we go in the article and you pop the PubMed ID into the citation, it will generate, ta-da, a beautiful journal citation.
Oh, so you're not even putting in the URL, you're putting the exact PubMed ID number there.
Well, I mean, it's in the URL, so it's here. I'm just lazy and only copy the PubMed ID part.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really, really useful. So that's that. So anyways, updating the info box. I've made some changes to the info box. I briefly broke the info box. I'm still sorry to the people. I was a little tipsy, and editing templates when you're tipsy is a terrible idea. Don't do that. So I've added a bunch of parameters based on what states are reporting that I think will be useful in other pandemics, not just this one. So for example, respiratory pandemics like the flu, knowing how many patients are on ventilators is really useful. So I added that as a thing, which may or may not be helpful in other it won't be helpful in other other non-respiratory pandemics. Knowing how many patients are on ECMO, so extracorporeal membrane oxygenation, is a type of really super heavy duty life support that people may need to be on, and certain states are reporting their numbers of ECMO cases too. So confirmed cases, everybody's reporting that. So we have 5,296 here in Alabama. And then they're also reporting cumulative hospitalizations. So one of the things that is happening is some states are reporting current hospitalizations. For example, Washington, I know, is one state that's doing that. And others are reporting cumulative. So since the pandemic began, patients hospitalized with COVID, and some are reporting both. I like the states that report both, but this is where we live. So 699 hospitalizations, and this is cumulative. So I've been trying to make sure that that's in there. Critical cases is patients who are requiring some level of critical care, which some places are defining as ICU and like step down ICU, and some are just saying as ICU. And then ventilator cases, because we need a shitload of ventilators. What I would love to do for this pandemic specifically is ultimately put something together that shows municipalities or states like ventilator and ICU bed capacity, because I think that's something that we can do really well in modeling, but I haven't had time to put that together. Nor have I had the energy to figure out how to make more templates, because blah. So the deaths here, I'm trying to clarify which ones are confirmed and which ones are the expanded case definition, because like as a clinician, people are not accessing tests doesn't mean that they don't know that their patients died from COVID, right? Like it's a relatively clinically unique entity, and there's a good clinical case definition at this point. So that's taken care of. The next thing to do is to look at this this chart, which I can pull up. Can I pull it up from here? probably not. Can I pull that up from here? Maybe. Nope. Never mind. I'll do it. I'll do it after. But updating this template is kind of a bitch and a half. Or can I edit it through this transclusion? No, I can't. That's fine. So these templates are all the same, and I take issue with the fact that they're vertical, which is just not like how we do it in medicine, but I understand that it's for space, so it's fine. I'm not actually mad about it. So this is updated daily, and it's an interesting little template, the medical cases chart template. So it has the date, the number of deaths, the number of cases, and then a way to put in percentage and increases. So this also has a specific thing saying that it's confirmed, not expanded case definition, which is fine. That's the convention we've set up. I had so many edits that just had the summary 420 yesterday, which I thought was kind of funny. It's the little things. So we have 144 confirmed deaths today. I'm not sure what happened here because I know there were more yesterday, so I'm gonna check that out. Alabama Public Health, did you? Archived. Daily
and this is
characters.
something that Jim Hayes had brought up is it seems like there's no real standard for all these states to report their content in a way, right?
There aren't. It's really frustrating because, you know, every state is reporting something different, and those of us who are trying to collect all of this data are trying to like mash it into something that is similar and consistent enough that we can compare it. Fortunately, as the pandemic's drawn on, more and more states and more counties have converged on a way of reporting things, but not every state is on board with it. Like even simple things like putting the counties in a table that's sortable or in order, alphabetical order, as opposed to like case burden order.
Right.
Makes me want to scream. My husband's off in the other room, but he will tell you that I have on several occasions in jest threatened to burn down entire states because they put their tables in the wrong order.
Well, I mean, I guess the big question is, will this crisis, which you can't imagine a bigger crisis, you know, with most of the country locked down, will this crisis, you know, finally spur us into thinking we need some more standardized ways, at least to feed the data in a way that's consistent and normalized in some way? But given the administration we have right now, I'm not sure that's on the front burner for doing anything proactive. It's more reactive at this point.
I despair at the state of public health in this country. And especially when we look at other countries that are reporting their stuff in a super consistent way. It's really frustrating to see like the lack of consistency between states when most places have a federal overarching standard of reporting.
Right.
So that's really frustrating.
I mean, we're also going to have this maybe bizarre situation in Georgia where CDC, which is headquartered there, has a certain opinion, but the state around it is going to start opening up this week, which is going to be really odd, isn't it?
It's not just odd, it's going to be deadly. And I think a couple of things are going to happen. First of all, Georgia's going to be a shit show. There are going to be a lot of people who are going to die because of this selfish bullshit. But if we look back at the last major pandemic that the United States experienced, which was the 1918 flu, the bounce back effect, like the second wave of the pandemic, was much worse than the first by several times.
Wow.
And that was basically when all of the restrictions were lifted and people started doing stuff again. The second wave came in and like bulldozed the entire country. So I think we need to be prepared for that as well. Unfortunately, we live in a country where people want to sacrifice real human lives to the meat grinder of, you know, public economy. So they can go fuck themselves and they won't be the ones suffering, unfortunately.
Right.
I just saw it's the poor and vulnerable. Look at Milwaukee.
Right. Well, I was somewhat heartened, I guess, to see, at least in my region near Washington, D.C., there was some news coverage of the fact that a rally in Maryland's capital had a total of 3 attendees. So I think it's really important to show that when people rally, there's a whole bunch of people, not a whole bunch, the majority of people say, no, this is a good idea to shelter at home. Whereas most, I'm in the news business, right? So the news media likes to go to the rallies and say, oh, there's 1,000 people rallying to open up and to go back to life as normal. But the vast majority of people, I think the public opinion also shows, most people are like really happy with the government's locking things down, right?
Right. I mean, Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, has been like literally driving around yelling at people to go home, which I think is hilarious and fantastic.
Right.
But I think, we're in it. We have to be in it for the long haul, because the burden of disease, what we're going to do is we're going to end up just shifting it down, right? We're going to end up shifting the burden of disease down a couple of months, and that won't do anything. What we really need to do is, sit in this uncomfortable garbage situation for months in order to not completely fuck up our healthcare system. And we're just not doing a good job with that yet.
And in case people are joining us and haven't seen the previous episodes, we should mention that Emily just finished her medical school education, and you're going to be doing a residency soon. Is that right?
Yes, I start residency in June. I'm going to be a family medicine physician at Advocate Lutheran General Hospital in the suburbs of Illinois. So it's a really high-powered kick-ass program. So I'm really, really happy about it.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's fun. Hey, guess what? You can't change tabs when you're in the visual editor because it'll just make everything look like headings. Fail. I also super hate. Please tell me that we can do rate by county. Oh my God, I'm going to set this on fire. I don't. Okay. I'm going to be bold here. This cases per 100,000 has been requiring me to go look at. So the state is technically reporting cases per 100,000. Unfortunately, it requires me to understand the geography of Alabama. This has been a source of a lot of frustration because I don't know where dick or shit is in Alabama because I've never lived there. So I'll deal with this later. So we see reported deaths and died from illness, which is a useful thing. A lot of people are putting in different columns that they may have seen elsewhere into their so for example, here we have cases per 100,000 because the state's reporting it. In other places, we're seeing people start to add those columns by manual calculation, and that's whack. Like the states should just be reporting that themselves. So that's also a place where I think automation could really come in handy. I don't know. I'm not a computers person. I fix people, not computers. But it would be really interesting to see if there's a way to get Wikidata to take. It's really just confirmed cases per population expressed as out of 100,000. That's not a terribly hard calculation to do, but I don't enjoy doing it manually. Nope. Oh boy. So this is what updating the table looks like, and I'm not sure there's a way to not get out of doing this manually because every state reports it in a different format, and there's usually not APIs. The New York Times has a staff of 100 people doing this shit.
Right. This is a comment from Derek here. Derek says, it's so long, it's covering up both of our faces. But that selfish bullshit policies aside, I don't see as indictment that we have inconsistent reporting format. Standardization works in bottom up. I think that's true, but I'm hoping that this crisis will maybe be a wake-up call to some folks at either CDC or the folks to say, hey, let's at least at the base level, let's get reporting of deaths in a consistent format, so Emily doesn't have to go hand copy tables that might be ascending or descending order given the state, right? So it's really tough to do.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's an indictment at all. I think that it's more of a reflection than anything else, of how unprepared we are to report this particular kind of pandemic. We have established systems in place for reporting, for example, influenza and influenza-like illness.
Yeah, it's true.
Right, and that's really useful, and that's something we're used to, and having to scramble to adapt these policies has been a lot of the struggle. And I think we're definitely seeing, for sure, the bottom-up standardization of things, where one county will mimic another county. And this is also a thing I was reminded of when working with the California data set, which for a while was not coming from the state at all. It was coming only from counties, which led to this beautiful thing, i.e. 2 whole pages of my source document just being California, because they didn't have a way to model this. Like, there just wasn't a pandemic of this scope. So people are really scrambling. But fortunately, things are standardizing across the board.
Right.
My cat says hello. She's all snuggled. Yep, a lot of this there was a point where I was downloading, I shit you not, Microsoft Word documents from the state of Massachusetts.
I can believe it. I mean, it's having seen the range of the ways that different governments have been reporting their stuff, it's not even like different CSV or spreadsheets. Some don't even use any kind of real structured stuff. It's just a dump in a Microsoft Word document, or as Jim says, a PDF file here or there. It's pretty amazing.
Texas has a great data report. They pop out a spreadsheet every day. That's nice. Great. That makes my job super easy.
Oh yeah.
I spend way less time updating them than I do anywhere else. But yeah, it's also showing a lot of like idiosyncrasies on the individual state level. So for example, Virginia has just a completely wild Commonwealth situation that I guess I didn't understand until now. They don't report by counties. Well, they report some counties and some independent cities, which is a whole thing. It's fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I think all these kind of quirky things about the U.S. in terms of education systems, how we vote, how we report healthcare information. It's all, before this virus hit, it was always kind of this quirky, inefficient curiosity of how we do things in the US, but we're so affluent that we can kind of deal with the inefficiencies of it and just kind of amble through it. But now it's starting to show its real problems, right?
I mean, and that's how the entire healthcare system is going. Like, we have fed the beast enough that we've been able to not even get by, just mask how shitty our healthcare system is. And now kind of the jig is up. Right.
And for folks who are commenting on Facebook, we love your comments. If you want us to know your name and your face in your icon, if you go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, you can grant permission of our platform, which we're using called StreamYard, to see your face and your identity, and that'll help a lot more. So if you are a Facebook user, go to StreamYard.com/Facebook. We also welcome folks on any of our platforms, even on Twitter, to respond to this, and we'll see your comments and we can surface them on the screen. For example, this one from a Facebook user: glad I bumped into this, so interesting. I'm learning a lot about editing in the virus, and we got one of our experts here, Emily, to navigate us through all this stuff, which is great.
I'm so happy to be sharing this. Also, my cat says hello to Derek specifically. Oh, well, that, but also Derek's other comment, which is probably more relevant. That's really interesting. If I knew how to Python, I would probably find it more interesting. But I don't.
That's not too hard. We can find a way to do that. We can.
I've done it. Python. I've done it before, but oof, it's just not my strong suit. But that's fine.
Right.
This is also taking a lot longer because I'm like talking and messing around.
Yeah,
but usually this is over. It's less like pulling teeth.
Go ahead and update and let's see if there's any other comments here that we can have. Yes, so if you didn't see some of our previous episodes, we're looking more into how we can deal with tabular data better, right? We have Wikidata, which sounds like it should be an interesting platform for tabular data, but it's actually not a great fit for a lot of this. So we actually do have the facility in Wikimedia Commons for tabular data. Unfortunately, yeah, it's kind of stored in what they call JSON format, which is very powerful, very expressive. But unfortunately, there's no editor for that tabular data that looks like a spreadsheet system, like what Emily's doing right here. So that's the weird thing, is that we technically have the ability to express the values and the columns and the rows of tabular data, but we actually don't have a great user interface for it. Wow, that sounds really familiar. It's kind of like wiki markup for the first 8 years of Wikipedia's existence, where it's like, wouldn't it be nice to edit articles as they look like rather than in this weird wiki markup? And that's kind of like where we are now with with the tabular data, is that we have a format in Wikimedia Commons, but we actually don't have a great user interface to do anything with. So that's kind of weird to have that state of affairs.
Something I would love to do on this stream is, once I finished updating this article, I want to go and attempt to figure out the JSON data in real time, because I haven't touched it yet, and it sounds fun ? To do that on stream, and see, like, I'm an expert on Wikipedia. I've been doing this for too many years. Let's see how incomprehensible it is even to someone with my skill set.
So Emily, did you just quote someone? Someone said, "Hey, that's me you just quoted, username figure skating fan." Was that you or me? I can't remember.
If I quoted you, it was unintentional, but yay, I'm glad.
So yeah, Christine, let us know what we quoted. We might have inadvertently quoted you.
I'm mostly talking out of my butt. Sorry, Christine. Although I admire your work, and it's.
Oh, it was me. It was me.
Okay. Oh, it was you. Okay, I admire your work. What did you say?
I can't remember. That's what happens when you're a third margarita. So.
Oh, I see.
But remind us what I quoted you on. So we'd love to make sure we recognize that.
We can credit you, yeah. But also, she does awesome work, so that's delightful to see you here.
Yeah, great to see you here.
There's a great GIF of Mr. Data, who doing stuff on a computer, and that's how I feel whenever I'm updating this. You also discover which places. I think there's also something interesting to be seen here in the financial disparities between states. Which ones have the robust interface for getting this kind of information out, and which ones don't. I feel like Nevada doesn't have an excuse, though. Their website sucks, and it's really, really frustrating to deal with.
So you said Texas is one of the better ones. Nevada is not very good.
Nevada's the worst.
Oh.
Nevada's the worst. No contest. Their website is just really, really bad. Several were pretty terrible, and then they've kind of picked up the pace, which is good. But I would say Texas is very good. Alabama's this is actually not a terrible one at all.
Right.
It's pretty standard. Yeah, there's a wide range.
Now, did you run into any problems in terms of normalization of data? Like some states, I guess it's not so much in the US, but I saw in other countries that rather they know that someone probably died from COVID-19, but they didn't even bother testing them because it's like they don't want to waste that test kit on someone who just passed. So we actually may be getting very incomplete or inconsistent pictures across different locales, depending on the availability of test kits or procedures, right?
Right. So one of the things that Alabama's doing really well is putting in these like died of illness and suspected deaths. So that's using the case definition of people who did not get a test for whatever reason. South Carolina has a particularly good way of doing this. Let me pull up their website actually, and then we can dunk on Nevada.
While you're pulling it up, I'm going to bring up a question from Joao from Brazil, which is a great one. Maybe this is asked. Sorry if I'm repeating someone else, but why aren't you using Wikidata to generate these tables?
We don't have the infrastructure to do that.
Yeah, I think for some things we can use Wikidata, but I think for this level of detail, I haven't seen it yet.
I want there to be a Wikidata infrastructure because I want to throw my computer out the window a lot. Okay, so this is Nevada's website. It sucks. This is their like dashboard, I guess.
It's like so embedded and specialized, and it's like not scrapable.
And all it gives you is positive tests, negative tests, and deaths statewide, and they have like sex and age, but they don't have any further breakdown than that.
Right.
It's
Microsoft Power or whatever that is. Yeah, that's not scrapable. Yeah.
Those of us who are who identify as bi, myself included, have been making a lot of jokes about Microsoft Power Bi, which is great. But it kind of sucks as an interface for dealing with this because it's not scrapable.
Right.
Like, and it's not archivable also. So a thing we're running into is a lot of this data is very ephemeral. If it's in Microsoft Power BI and that's like embedded in a website, even if the Internet Archive scrapes it, that data is gone. So part of the urgency in updating Wikipedia is that a lot of these numbers are disappearing. And with Wikipedia, at least we have a time-stamped like snapshot. That's super frustrating. Okay, so here's South Carolina's website, which is one of the better ones. What I really appreciate about this is, first of all, where the fuck did their table go? They have a really nice table. They have actually several things. They have a clickable county map, which is fine if you understand counties, but they also have this, which is really interesting. So we have cases, estimated cases, and total possible cases based on what they think the access to testing is. I really like this. So for example, in Charleston, you can see there's 400 reported cases, but they think there might actually be up to 2,800 real cases. So this is the only state that does this as far as I know. They also do it by zip code, which is useful for epidemiologists. Yeah, I really, really like that. And I wish more states were doing that based on their individual knowledge of what their epidemiologic picture is like.
Interesting. So while you make some of those edits, I'm going to show folks Power BI. So
please
the funny thing is, well, please do to shame Power BI. But this is funny because it's I can see this is your classic case of like how governments buy into the whole Microsoft infrastructure, so they might as well use this thing that Microsoft provides. But this is, to me at least, I work in data science and GLAM institutions. This is a tool we don't use at all, but it might be a really easy way for folks who are bought into the Microsoft infrastructure to kind of hit one button and have nice analytics and infographics that get spit out by it. So this is...
They look beautiful. That's the thing. They look really beautiful, and they're clearly what's being used internally. And some places are using it better than others. I will say that some places that use Power BI are doing like cases by date. I know Santa Clara County in California is one that stands out as like using the interface really well. The loss of the historical data in the public-facing website is really what's frustrating to me. I don't have anything against Power BI, like to be like on the face of it, I just really am frustrated with how states are using it and not presenting the historical data, because it should not be that ephemeral. That's really, really frustrating.
Right. In terms of scrapability, preservability, it is almost like Flash and Shockwave, if you remember those, like proprietary technologies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like neopets.com, you know?
Yeah.
Showing my age there.
So if anyone watching out there has experience with Power BI or thinks that, you know,
it's
maybe
probably
we're
not
off.
actually pronounced Power BI, now that I'm thinking about it. How are you supposed to say that?
I don't know. I mean, I've only encountered it in the last week. I've never run into it before.
Same. I'm also just really amused at the concept of like fancy government officials saying Power BI.
I see it's kind of like a power grab. Yeah, I'm going to buy power. You know, I'm going to.
Oh yeah.
So like, yeah, it stands for business intelligence. But yeah, this is a new product to me, and you know, I've done a fair share with Microsoft research stuff before with Azure, but I've never run into this product before. But that's, you know, we're weird, Emily. We live in the open source world, which is like spooky and weird to governments. So
yeah, I realized just the other day that like not everyone knows what fucking like Ogg Vorbis is.
Well, Derek knows what he's talking about. Derek says he calls it Power BI. Okay.
Okay. I'm probably still going to call it Power BI because as a BI, I find that really funny. But Power BI, noted. Right, I'm almost done updating. It's such a weird name. Derek knows a lot of things. Shout out to Derek for knowing stuff.
Impressive.
So
I'm going to turn back to you here.
Yes. So, okay. I'm just gonna update. And then we're gonna go on a commons adventure to see if we can figure out how that business works, because it seems wild.
Oh, commons for tabular data or something else? Or?
Yes, commons for tabular data. I'm trying to think of the best place to find it.
Well, that's one of the problems I had is where do you even find the tabular data in commons?
So to be completely honest, what I've been doing is I've been like, I know which places use the tabular data, and I've just been like, it's very much like, how do I find that fan fiction that I read kind of thing. Like you have to remember your exact search string, which is ridiculous. Okay. This is my beautiful table that I made that I'm still very proud of.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It's a work of art. I'm kidding. Okay, for tabular data, charts of medical. Okay, let's see this. See Wikimedia Commons. Here we go. So it's data :
Right.
Okay. This will be my first edit on Commons in a while. So let's see if this has actually been updated recently. Oh, yeah, it was updated yesterday.
COVID-19 Santa Clara. Huh?
So yeah, let's just update that for today, I guess, and then we'll see if I can. I'm going to try to make a fresh one on the model of that. Now that's Santa Cruz, this is Santa Clara. I've also ended up learning a lot about like geography of very random locations. Oh my god, this is a clusterfuck.
Oh yeah, see that's the problem. You get Json, and you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like tabular data.
Right. I mean, oh my god, this looks like how I very much like broke a couple of templates. Also, I like that it's in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese. That's, oh right. Lord. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Where did you get that margarita? Because that sounds really good right now.
Yeah, it's really easy to get it wrong.
The margarita or
well, both, but it's really easy to get addition of content wrong here because JSON is unforgiving if you have some kind of typo.
JSON is unforgiving. Okay, so Boop, boop, boop. I don't even know what my columns are. I think what I need to do is, this is a shit show, y'all. Holy shit, we need something better.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
why can't we have some kind of visual editor type thing where you're editing cells here, right? That's what you want to be happening.
Literally anything would be better than that. Okay, so we want new cases, total confirmed cases. Okay, holy balls. So this is a good use of Power BI, because it gives you cumulative cases. I'm going to full screen this.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you cumulative cases by specimen collection date, new cases, total cases. Like, this is better because it doesn't totally delete your past data.
Right.
Okay, holy balls. So I guess, okay, our first column is new cases. This is, y'all, no one can do this.
You are brave. Normally, when I see raw JSON, I go running the other way when I try to edit it.
I mean, I'm gonna break it, I'm sure, in some interesting way. I broke a lot of JSON earlier. But I have a doctorate. I have a doctorate.
Yeah. So that I trust you.
This is whack. Holy shit. Oh my god. This is the worst. Oh my god, this is the worst. Who? Okay. I think I can make this better, actually. I think I can make this better. And those are the words spoken by, oh, this is really nice, actually. I really like this.
It's beautiful looking, as you said. It's basically Microsoft blowing a hole in a web browser and saying, we're going to do things our way with no standards whatsoever.
Right. It's really, but this is actually like functional, useful data that doesn't completely delete everything. But also, oh my god. Okay. I think I did this good. Let's find out.
Can you preview it or not really?
Not really.
Or only wimps use preview.
Hey, it worked.
Looks good. Yay! Awesome.
Okay.
See, this is so much better than Twitch and playing Fortnite. This is like real stuff.
This is so much better than Twitch and playing Fortnite. Although I did accidentally somehow make 2 rows for today.
Oh.
So I'm gonna fix that, I guess, because I know how to fix that.
So while you're fixing it, Derek says, in that sense, yeah, it is true that JSON is unforgiving. You're right. You want precision. You want unassailable definitions of what you want to see there. But boy, if there ever was like a high priority task here, is make a visual interface for entering this stuff. It's okay. The bones are all there. Like, you already can edit tables in Visual Editor. This is not that much different.
Right. Well, although sometimes those break really spectacularly.
Yeah, that's true.
What I want to, so now that I've conquered that, I guess, what I want to find, what I think I could find that's really interesting is there a Wikidata, an associated Wikidata page? Wikidata item? Let's find out.
Does that get you?
Because I would love to see this. Oh boy. Okay, that's a Wikimedia template.
Look at your template.
I think I have somewhere in one of my 8 million tabs open. I think I have something about, I am really glad that you guys can't see my 8,000 tabs that I have saved. It's really bad, y'all. Here we go. I'm just gonna pop this up into here. Okay, here we go. So this is what I found on Wikidata, and I am not an expert on Wikidata. I'm not an expert on Wikidata. So this is the has parts.
Has part.
So that's how that's organized. So
that's crazy.
Has part 2020 coronavirus pandemic.
That's just like a gigantic list. Yeah.
Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. So this should have part. So this is what I'm looking to have, right? Number of deaths at point in time, right?
Right. And that's probably what Joao was pointing to. Like, hey, why can't we use just these things, right?
Yes. Why can't we just pull this? And I think the reason we can't pull this is because what the fuck? Also, this does not go in order, which is really irritating. Has effect. Okay. Case fatality rate. This should be, oh, this is based on a formula. Love that. Holy shit.
Right.
Wikidata. You guys are high. I love it. Number of cases.
So someone's updating
Has
this
part.
by hand. Yeah.
Someone is updating this by hand, probably. I
Right.
think the places that use ArcGIS, or however you say that, are able to use a tool that updates stuff that way.
That could be, yeah.
But most places aren't using that, so I think mostly it's manual. Let's see. Oh no. There are not 2 deaths in California. Oh boy. Uh-oh.
Is it stale?
Oh yeah, real stale. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what's my question is, what's the better situation? Do we use the Commons JSON situation, or do we use Wikidata? My inclination is Wikidata because JSON sucks a lot. But
at least the way it is now, yeah.
Well, yeah, but also, which one is more machine readable? Which one is more useful for both editors and epidemiologists? I don't know the answer to this. And I'm also not sure that anybody does. The order in the UI is purely arbitrary. Mahir Morshed says the order in the UI is arbitrary. Yeah, I'm gathering that. That's fine. I'm just amused by it. But thank you. Right. Oh boy. Well, this is a mess. And that doesn't even get into the messiness of the articles that we talked about last time I was on the show, of like the timeline situation, which, boy, oh boy, is that a mess also.
Do you want to see? I just visualized the Wikidata for that whole thing. Let me see if I can show it to you here. This is the Wikidata graph builder for this coronavirus pandemic in the United States. Which is crazy. So basically, I know it's like, it's weird because, oh, you know what? It's interesting. So basically, you have
Illinois has some counties.
I know, like somehow someone went really deep into pandemic in Stark County, Illinois, into all these Illinois counties.
Because Illinois has been doing a really good job of putting this data out at the state level, but I'm going to check this out.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
That's what it should be for everything. This is what it should be. Disease outbreak, part of, and then it should be has part.
Right. So we're looking here at part of. So basically, we started 2020 coronavirus pandemic in the United States. We say
it should have part all of these though.
Right. I mean, so what happens is you basically have states. But then beyond that, you have like some big cities like Portland, New York City, Detroit. But then for some reason, someone really tricked out Illinois. Look at Illinois' gigantic bloom of all the counties, and then Cook, and then finally Chicago, like 3 levels deep below that.
Right, because I mean, Chicago operates so separately. This is baller, though.
Mm-hmm.
And when you actually get down to the individual page, it's just kind of like updated occasionally. But this has the potential to be exactly what we need. So thank you, Anonymous Wikidata, who did this. I don't know who you are. I'm going to find out so I can thank you.
It's really interesting.
PR Burley.
Right. This was created all on April 14th.
Mm-hmm. And the data hasn't been updated since then. But I think this is also kind of showing the sausage, how the sausage gets made here. Because at its core, Wikipedia is like, no one is getting paid to do this. We're all a bunch of bored-ass Wikipedians and Wikidatans and Wikimedians on our couches with our cats in quarantine, you know, putting this together. And on the one hand, that's like beautiful and amazing and everything. On the other hand, yeah, I think, can you pull up Derek's chart or Derek's comment?
Oh, Derek's comment is here.
Mm-hmm.
My inclination.
Yeah, JSON, I mean,
Right.
I can probably handle the JSON. I think JSON will be more useful for certain things. I think the graph structure will be really helpful for other things. Like, my inclination is that comparing subsets of data on different dates will be easier done on Wikidata. So, like, for example, comparing the death toll in every county across Illinois on April 14th would be better done through Wikidata. But visualizing the JSON data, like visualizing the cumulative case count or new cases per day to like make an epidemiologic curve, will be better served by the Commons data. I think you're right.
Yeah, I think when we were at WikiDataCon recently, it said, you know, time series data and tabular data, really not the strength of Wikidata. And if Commons has that facility, if we upgrade that UX to actually work with tabular data in a way that's more, you know, even 1990s vintage of like a simple spreadsheet, that would be great.
I'll take the 90s. I'll take 1990.
Right.
Literally any day, because this is frustrating. It's frustrating. And it's something we haven't had to do before. Even with the Ebola outbreak, it was much less volume than this.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great thing that Alaska does, is you can just access the raw data. Love that, Alaska. Clap, clap, right. Good job.
Someone mentioned here, looks like many of the sister tab pages on Commons were created a month ago, but never updated. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, just think about the spread of like, if you have every state and then every county in those states and then municipalities within the counties of those states, this doesn't beg for hand updating. It really means we need some kind of automated, you know, synchronization here.
Yeah. Right, but there's no infrastructure for that on the state side. If you still have states just shitting out PDFs or worse, Word documents you have to download, that's just not feasible right now. I mean, scraping, yes, but I feel like, man, it's not great. It's not great, y'all. It's not great.
So Alaska has a curious bloom right in the middle there, right?
That's Fairbanks.
Oh, is that right?
That's the second biggest city, yeah. So the two big cities are the red. So that's Fairbanks and Anchorage. I also have a lot of thoughts on the maps. Like, why are people having to make those by hand? That sucks. We should be able to make those. Like, we should just be able to make those. Is there a way to do that? Is there a way to make a live, like, updated map of a place in Wikipedia or in Commons?
I mean, I'm not a mapping genius in our movement at all, but it's not impossible. I just don't know if anyone's put the effort into synchronizing the data from COVID-19 with it. Yeah.
If any of our readers or listeners, I guess, know how to do that, that would be really cool. Please get in touch with me, because I know the data, right? Like, I have my face in this all day, every day, pretty much. But I don't know how to do that. And when I've actually ended up like making these maps, I've done it by hand, and I can't do that. That's just not happening.
Sorry. James had mentioned this site here, JSON to CSV. So there are many sites that you can actually dump the JSON in, and it'll create a CSV or some kind of spreadsheet out of it. I think even Google Sheets can do it very quickly. But the overhead of having to like cut, paste, edit, copy, repaste
is enough that it inhibits a lot of folks.
Yeah. I'd rather just learn to speak JSON, frankly. Because I mean, if everybody who's been around Wikipedia long enough will know this, like from the old days of editing templates, you just like kind of figured out how to do it yourself, you know? Like you just figured out how to visually parse that data well enough that it didn't really matter.
Right.
So I'm probably just going to end up going that route for now until we have a better way of doing this. But it would be interesting to talk to somebody from the foundation to see if they're doing anything with Visual Editor and this JSON data.
Right. There is a technical wishes project every year where people can kind of nominate things they'd like to see implemented next year, and then people vote up certain things. This might be a really good one that should be fairly low overhead in general.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish it could happen sooner than that, you know?
Right.
Man, I really wish it was the non-existent 31st of April. I keep typing that. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how different states are reporting, how different places are organizing their data, and to be the ones who are making sense of all of it, you know?
Right.
Like that's really interesting to me.
So there are some mapping resources, as Jim Hayes pointed out here on Commons.
Mm-hmm.
We have a pretty dedicated map community that I have not been a part of, but certainly there are folks doing
I also haven't either. But my one concern with that is that this is just an overwhelming amount of work, you know?
Right.
And I think it's going to continue to be, because it's not like this is a project that we can work on and then be done with. This data is new and changing, and it's like you have to do the whole thing every day.
Right.
So I don't think asking people to, you know, manually update these maps every day is feasible or kind.
Right. Thanks, Derek. Derek said he's created a fabricator task to start doing this, which is great. If we can get that.
Derek, you're awesome. Thank you, Derek. That would be amazing. If anybody technical wants to hit us up.
Right.
I would be really interested to see what our capability map-wise is like, because if there was a place, if updating the JSON data is what it took, you know, to make an automatic map every day, I would update that shit first thing in the morning, you know?
Yeah, and Lodewijk said, you know, we've got folks doing updates of maps in other domains, so can we get them to re-upload their maps to Commons each time? Yeah, I mean, that's a great point as well, is that have we kind of in a glam way, and if you didn't know, Emily was the Wikimedian in residence with the CDC's NIOSH unit, and you probably have some insight into this. Like, what if we kind of extended a branch to these at least state level organizations saying, here's a way to get your data into our ecosystem faster? If it's something simpler than the API, which requires like real developer stuff, but like, what if we said, you know, put your spreadsheet in this format, or try to normalize your spreadsheet in this format, we can suck it in much faster. Like we can maybe be the tail that wags the dog in some ways.
Right. My only concern with that is that, oh my God, every state health department is so overwhelmed right now.
Yeah.
But so are we, right? And we're, as far as I'm concerned, you know, the information source that has both the staying power and the history behind it to make this happen. Because I certainly don't trust Google, you know, to do this. Say hello to my cat, everyone. She's making weird noises. But yeah, I think Lodewijk is right that, you know, why can't we just team up with these people? They would have to be cool with our lack of commercial interest, is I think the sticking point there.
Right. And then, you know, we've been pretty successful in working with libraries and museums in this area, but we really haven't focused in on scientific and medical, right? You're one of the few that has, because
Right.
it technically isn't in GLAM. When we say GLAM, galleries, libraries, archives, museums, we actually mean much more. We mean like nature conservancies, we mean zoos, we mean scientific organizations, but they don't necessarily get like front and center billing in those engagements. So maybe we can do that better, especially now in the COVID-19 era, to say, hey, let's work with CDC and these other folks to find standard ways to report data to us.
Right. And let's be real, like this pandemic is not going to be quick. We have months to make this work,
Right.
which is kind of terrifying. As, you know, again, someone about to begin her internship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also a kind of a weird motivation too. It's like, you know, it's not like these organizations are like, oh, let's make sure everyone knows exactly how many people died. That's not really a happy, fun thing to do versus working with the museum. It's like, we want more people to know about our artworks, or library saying we want more people to know about books. So this is a little bit kind of more of a more sensitive topic, right?
Right. And, you know, people are not as keen. Although I think like public health people are very matter of fact and want everybody to know what's going on. Oh no, Arizona's COVID dashboard is down. Arizona. Ooh. That's also a problem. It's a lot of like websites crash. That's not great.
Has I thought I might have seen this. Has anyone kind of run down all 50 states to say how scrapable each site is, or kind of, I mean, you have in your head like Nevada stinks, Texas is really good. Has anyone put that down in a chart to say kind of like almost like a best to worst ranking?
I mean, I can like give you my mental ranking, but in terms of scrapability, again, computers are not this kind of technical stuff is not my forte, so I'm not actually sure. I think it depends, like whatever's easily scrapable. I can certainly give out the link to my source list, you know, if anybody wants that. It's not very exciting, but
right.
You know,
but it's something that we could even like, if you just get the COVID-19 task force folks, you could probably do it in a few days just to kind of run down each one and kind of see how people perceive the website. Like, do they provide a standalone file as a downloadable summary of each day? Do they embed it in like Power BI in a way that's not scrapable? Do they have historical data? As you said, a lot of these folks just like, here's today's, and like, okay, but how about yesterday? It's like,
there's nothing.
Why would you want to look at yesterday's? You know, a lot of these sites are like that.
Right, where it's there have been cases where the only place where I have been able to find historical data has been Wikipedia. That's terrifying.
Yeah, that is terrifying.
Like, we are built on, you know, we should be the backup to the backup. Like, digging through the history page should be a backup to a backup, but it's not.
Right.
And part of what I really want is for epidemiologists in the future to be able to find this.
Right. Yeah, we should get Mark Graham from Internet Archive on here at some point, maybe soon, just to say how is the scraping going for each of these sites. And in fact, that might be a good kind of melding of minds to have you and some other folks in the task force with Internet Archive saying, you know, what are the states that have the most problematic sites, and how can we try to preserve them better versus what we're seeing.
That would be really fun. I would very much like to do that. We should stay tuned. That sounds really excellent, because who better to talk about scraping and whatnot than the Internet Archives?
Right. Right. And what happens when they try to scrape a Flash or a Power BI or a
no, I mean I've seen what happens is it either gives you nothing or it pulls up the data that's current.
Right.
Which is really frustrating.
Yeah, so this is
Arkansas's website sucks too.
Bummer.
Also, I'm wondering, sometimes things get Arkansas's website currently says 1,990, but their other website says 2,227. You guys good? I don't want to watch. Oh my god! Another thing that drives me crazy while I'm complaining is that some states attempt to make you watch their hour-long press conference every day. I will not be doing that. Screw you.
So it looks like someone has updated the. Interesting. There's an account called AR COVID that's been updating the numbers in the Arkansas article. Did you notice that?
Interesting. I did not mean to click on edit source. I would like to know who this person is.
AR COVID joined March 14th to update information about COVID-19 in Arkansas. Interesting.
Fascinating. They're pretty efficient.
And let's see their contributions.
Damn. It's all this.
Right.
Amazing.
And it's on a regular basis too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would not be surprised if it's someone from the state government.
Right. Very cool.
Also, this is really interesting. So this is a transclusion, actually, which is unique, I think. I don't think there's a lot of places that transclude this, or a lot of pages that transclude this. I'm not sure how I feel about it. Meh, it's fine.
This is what Lodolike put up here. What do you think about that? He says, is this the data you're looking for?
Maybe. I think. Oh wait, I have that tab open somewhere.
CSSEGIS and data COVID-19 tree master CCS COVID-19 data. Okay.
It kind of. So it kind of is. It kind of is. Some of it is not. So what it talks about when you scroll down and you look at the data sources there, it mostly pulls from the CDC, which is lagging behind a little bit. But yes, that is. Yes, I have that tab open also.
Oh, so this is the Johns Hopkins stuff. Okay. Yeah.
Which has the best visualization of anyone. Like, period.
Right. Very cool.
It's pretty excellent.
Just a reminder for anyone watching us on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. We are close to 100
subscribe button.
Yeah, we're almost at 100 subscriptions, so that means we can change our URL to something that's not gobbledygook, and we can actually get something that's nice. So
I don't know what you're talking about, Andrew. The name of our website is perfectly pronounceable.
It's Mixelplick or something like that. So
I believe it is. Yeah. Ukayoi 5 Cabgo Kusu.
It's basically that. So yeah. Help us change this URL to something nicer. And if we get to 100 subscriptions, yeah.
So Ludwig makes an interesting point. We should be able to run scripts to generate maps from this. Yes. I think you're right. And I think that would not be the worst idea at this point. I would be wary of pulling that data directly into Wikipedia because some of it is not sourced as well as others, and we've already been having the fights in Wiki Project COVID-19 about like what things are acceptable to use as a source.
Really?
Like Worldometer has been banned for being bad for crimes against Wikipedia. So, but yes, I think for maps, that's a really reasonable thing to do because like I said, we can't be asking people to update this every day. It's already enough to ask to have us update all of the case counts every day.
Right. Right. So you're working still on Arkansas? Is it here? Yep.
I am back to Arkansas. Yeah, I'm just kind of casually working on this. I hate this website. You have to click on each individual one. It was worse for a while. It wasn't showing numbers of cases below, I think, 5. It's just like, well, I don't know, some number of cases. This is a day out of date, which is fine. Like normal. It's interesting how different places are reporting recoveries differently. Also, not all of them are reporting like a test recovery, like you test negative. Some places are reporting just like, has someone been asymptomatic for X amount of time? I find that pretty interesting. RT.live?
Yeah, that was that's the site that's become quite popular, showing you the RT value, right? So
yeah, I'm not sure I understand the question. Testing bottleneck issues. I don't. So here's the issue, right? RT is a really useful way of seeing how fast a virus is spreading. And that's great for the big picture, to know how many like new cases are happening and the rate and whatnot. The problem is that in terms of reopening economically and whatnot, we need to actually know how many people have been infected, not just like what the RT is and what the R naught is. We need to know like broadly how many people are vulnerable. This graph makes me really sad, the Florida graph, because it's about to just go right the fuck back up.
Oh yeah, right there.
This is actually super interesting.
So you're saying that it's interesting to see the trends, but you actually want to see absolute numbers of folks still infected, right?
I want to see. We need more data on how many people are infected, how many people are still vulnerable, how many people are asymptomatic, that kind of thing. I think it helps with the testing bottleneck, but it doesn't overcome it, I don't think. I think it's a really great tool, and I think they should be commended for their work and continue what they're doing. Right. I don't think it's the answer to all of our problems. That's my hot, spicy take.
Right.
I'm just full of hot takes today.
Do we know who runs this site?
2
folks.
Oh, just like a couple people. That's
yeah. It doesn't seem like there's an organization behind it. Doesn't mean it's bad.
No, I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's very much in the spirit of what we do.
Well, the cool thing is that they do show their work, which I do like. So if anyone knows what Jupyter Notebooks are, they actually show their work here in Python, I think, probably Python. Yeah. So they kind of show all their math. But I love this in that, these Jupyter Notebooks are like kind of completely showing your rationale and then interspersing Python code with your reasoning. And this is kind of like classic. This is one of the main tools of data science today is a Jupyter Notebook, showing you code and explanation, kind of interleaved together. It's pretty cool.
Fascinating.
Yeah. If you didn't know, we do have the similar type of setup on Wikimedia servers. We actually have a service called Pause, P-A-W-S, which allows you to do these kinds of interactive notebooks with code that hits the Wikimedia API. So you can actually show you cool things happening in the Wikimedia universe with the same type of stuff. So, yeah.
It's good stuff.
RT.live, which has gotten a lot of press in recent days, I think.
Yeah. I mean, every day feels like a month.
Yeah.
To be completely honest. And I'm still working. Like, time is weird.
It is.
I can't imagine what it would be like if I was just at home.
So you're learning a lot about counties and states that you've never been to. So.
Oh yeah, I have thoughts on many of them. It's interesting. It's like an interesting cross section of places seen through this very specific lens.
Right.
Yeah, there's some really good county names out there, which I appreciate. Yes, that is a really excellent paper.
This is the one here.
And it's older and it's pretty well validated as a concept.
So I think the last time we talked to, we saw the English Wikipedia. Did we look at the Meta project for COVID-19 at all? I can't remember.
We did not.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Let me see if I can bring it up so we can take a look at it. So. Meta Wikipedia.
MetaWiki COVID-19 portal. Interesting.
Right. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, that's right.
I do appreciate Stay Home and Wiki. That is basically what we're doing. There's a Wikidata project.
Was there?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Fascinating.
Oh my gosh, I've never seen this before.
I haven't either.
And someone's done a knowledge graph, but what is a knowledge graph of? Let's see. Neighborhood graph of COVID-19 pandemic in Wikidata as per Wikidata query service. What is this showing exactly? You see that? It's this thing here. Let me click on the big one and see. Country. Categories. Okay, immediate cause, location. Oh, I guess just modeling what the COVID-19 pandemic looks like. What does it point out to? It points to country. Oh, okay. I see. Interesting.
I return with a snack.
And then what else is in
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Status updates, subpages. All the subpages. There's a Kaggle. Let's see. COVID Open Research Dataset Challenge hosted by Kaggle, including notebooks. Interesting. And then there is updated map of coronavirus spread. Sweden. Interesting.
The data models are really interesting.
Mm-hmm. COVID-19 open research map. A lot of mapping going on the internet right now. Let's see.
Everybody is into maps.
Whoa, interesting. There's the research. Yes, I will close the tutorial. These are research papers. Oh my. Oh my.
Yeah, Wikidata models research papers, which is really interesting.
Wow. 6,399 publications.
Actually lower than what I would expect.
This is not bad.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. You know, you've heard my spiel a million times about bureaucracy arising of anarchy, but it's also really cool to see projects arise out of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it never gets old.
Oh, look, so some folks have started putting entity schemas around. So this is like the shape of what Wikidata items should look like. Entity hospital, preprint, pandemic, entity schema. How many pandemics do we need to model? I hope not too many.
there's a flu every year.
I guess so.
I
So
mean,
this is
I think the ones I can remember in my lifetime, we've had West Nile, we had the 2008 H1N1 flu, we had Zika, we had Ebola. I feel like this is a thing we need to be.
That's true. We've had quite a bit in recent years.
Nothing has been quite like this, but
Right. Have you seen these before, Emily? The E. So you know of Q numbers and P numbers. Have you seen the E number before in Wikidata? An entity schema. I know. So this is a newish thing, which is instead of everyone just kind of doing a best effort as to what a Wikidata item should look like, you can say that pandemic should look like this. So this is kind of like giving shape to Wikidata entries here, which is kind of cool.
Is there a way to copy that forward?
There is like inheritance kind of stuff. So you can say, I'm going to make a new type of entity schema based on a previous one and show you the
check entities against the schema. That's really interesting.
Right. So it's still kind of a soft thing right now. It's still quite new, but this is a standard, but we're only starting to implement it in Wikidata. So you can check items against a schema. So saying, here's the pandemic I just put into Wikidata. Let me check it against the structure of what people have put in here. So this is what people think should be in a pandemic entry: a start time, end time, number of deaths, number of cases, recoveries, has cause, which you probably won't always have, but
generally with infectious diseases, old Dr. Koch helped us out there, giving us a way to figure that shit out.
But yeah, this is the developing future of Wikidata, which is instead of having to inspect like what do the last 3 pandemics look like and what do I enter for the next pandemic, you can at least use this as a guide as to how to structure a pandemic. If you create
that seems really, really helpful as someone who just kind of jumped headlong into this. Really just anything that tells you what's up is really helpful.
Right. Contact tracing app. Wow, there's an entity schema for our contact tracing app, I guess.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So instance of a contact tracing application. Look at that.
Whoa.
Okay. If I do a query for instance of this, how many contact tracing apps do you think there are in Wikidata?
5.
Oh, this is a scintillating visual content here. A live Wikidata query. So we'll start with cats. But we're going to replace cats with contact tracing app.
My cat does not approve of this.
Okay, get rid of cats here. Contact tracing apps. 46. Wow, what? Someone's been busy. Wow.
Yeah, someone
There's 46 apps in Wikidata. Wow. Is anyone surprised by that? I'm surprised. I was thinking your area, like 5 or 10. 46.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible.
Interesting. What are the typical fields look like for these apps? Let's see.
This is a great rabbit hole.
It is. Okay, let's do this.
No, it's no. That was completely unsarcastic.
Okay, we're gonna say country of origin. Let's say, okay, what are they broken down in? Country.
Oh, is it for like each countries? That's interesting.
We're getting into like real weird stuff now. So UK, Norway, Singapore, Austria, India. Whoa, look at all those Indian ones.
Whoa.
USA, and then a whole bunch with no countries. Ooh, this is something people should work on here. Philippines. Oh, this is obviously Philippines here.
Is it in the That's really, really interesting.
Isn't that interesting? 46.
That's so many.
Neat. I'm this is how you learn, hacking around.
I mean, this is how I've learned all of my Wikipedia related skills. Making crap up. And like
this is wormhole stuff. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go. Oh, so actually, why not show folks? So if we have this query, right? So if we have this query here, we do have a tool called Tabernacle. Have you used Tabernacle before?
I don't think so.
Tabernacle is a tool to help you kind of edit live this stuff in Wikidata in a spreadsheet type format.
Ooh.
So I can go ahead and say, there's my Sparkle query. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, I want to see the label. I want to see the description. Hit run. And then there are all my things. And I say, let's just care about English right now. So that's going to limit to English. That makes it a little bit more compact. And then what I can do is add column. What was country of origin? Oh, country of origin is P495. So I say P495 here. And I hit run.
Derek makes a really good point.
Oh, what did he say?
It's the same standardization from the bottom-up discussion we had an hour ago. Yep. I agree. We shouldn't be insisting on it, but I think it's just data that if we have it, we should include it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Although it's very sensitive in terms of who controls the data, right? So I guess that's why they're so country specific, is that they only have dominion over their citizens or their locale. And when you start sharing things across borders, and all kinds of weird things happen with privacy, right? So here's an interesting one. This one's pan-European privacy testing. What do you put for country of origin for pan-European? That's not easy, right?
I mean, I think a country of origin would be like where it was developed,
which
would be interesting.
But let me show you what we can do here. So at least we know that, we hope that we know that the Philippines one is Philippines.
Well, yes, it's in the name.
Right. So we can go here and just type in Philippines. And we're editing Wikidata directly like that. So the black bar means it's updating with Wikidata. And there we are. So we've actually made an edit in Wikidata just through this table format.
Very cool.
Yeah. The WHO app, where would that country of origin be?
That it wouldn't have one because it's the World Health Organization.
Exactly. So
wherever it was developed.
Okay, Italian app here. So we can add Italy here. Wikidata slow today. Oh, there we go. Italy. Indian contact. There's a lot of Indian apps. I guess that makes sense. A lot of people, a lot of apps.
Well, and from the ground up, right?
Right. Yeah, so folks haven't used Tabernacle. I'm a big fan of it in terms of using it editathons and stuff like that.
Yeah, it looks like something I need in my life. Yep. I mean, it looks like the thing that will make it possible for me to update, everything on Wikidata efficiently.
Yeah, if you can get the items you're interested in through a Sparkle query or just a list of items, you can do a lot with this.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to play with it. It'll be fun.
And the cool thing about this is we've done some work with like Portuguese speakers too. Like all you need to do is just choose your language here and you see everything in the language of your choice. So that's really powerful. That's
one of the major things that Wikidata has on just as a strength is its incredibly powerful translation.
Right. Cool. So we did some editing. Let's see if it shows up here. Contributions. If we take a look at our Wikidata edits, this is my edit history for Wikidata. You'll see these are all edits with the hashtag Tabernacle because we did it through the Tabernacle interface there.
Nice.
Although I've noticed this, it doesn't really detail exactly what I changed. All it says is updated item. It didn't say added Germany, added Philippines. So that's a little bit of a problem there. Cool.
Well, it's enough.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much. This has been fun.
Mm-hmm.
So you're done with all? Or are you going to go through all 50 states?
I'll be doing all 50 states slowly throughout the evening. In reality, I usually make it through like 30 or 40 of them.
guess you better do the smaller states first. Someone else will probably pick up on the Californias and the Texases or something.
Yeah, that's true. But it's a nice thing to do while I watch Next Gen with my husband. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and it was a good time.
Fun stuff. So yeah, if you are not part of the Facebook group or the Twitter or going to YouTube, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you can. That is, I think, a few folks away. I think even the process of the show, we have like 8 or 10 subscribers. So we're almost at 100. So we can change our name to a real name and not Yuka Yiskabo. All right. Thanks again, Emily, and have a good night. And
happy editing.
Don't get too distracted by this stuff. Watch some TV.
There's my cat. Oh no, we're watching plenty of Next Gen in this household. Stay safe out there, y'all.
And thanks to Derek. Thanks to James. Thanks to all the folks who joined us. Hopefully it was interesting. I guess for only certain number of folks watching Wikidata editing is interesting. Glad you were here.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks again. See you.
Bye.